Hey guys, welcome to today's video. This video is inspired by actually my neighbor. He is into Buddhism and he studies meditation. He's not really a monk, but it's something that he is currently practicing. And he even invited me to go to the Buddhist temple and meet a couple monks, which I absolutely love. And for that reason, I was really inspired to create some kind of a fun art where the cartoon characters may be meditating in, some sort of Zen pose, trying to achieve enlightenment. Oh, and I do want to say that I do have a toy on my desk, and I've had this for years. This is Rafiki from The Lion King, and he is kind of in the pose that I need him to be. So I'm going to use this as a reference. If you would like to see what that looks like, you can actually go to Google Images and pull up Rafiki meditation pose, just say Lion King, and you kind of, you will see what I'm talking about. So he's just sitting here on my desk, just sort of for good luck. All right, so with that said, let's move on. All right, cool. So let's jump right in. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to Lightbox. And let's just start with, like, I don't know, this Dynamesh 128, right? I'm going to start with that. So that's my sphere. I pulled up Rafiki reference just so we could see what he looks like. I really like his beard, right? So maybe our monk can have a beard and maybe he can wear some kind of a robe. I love how the feet is pointing up. I think that's really cool. And I love the big hands. I think that's really cool too. So let's just make something fun and cartoony, right? And it doesn't necessarily need to be like a specific Buddhist monk, right? It's just some kind of a monk that's meditating and he is, maybe wearing a robe, right? So to get started, what I would like to do is let's just decide on the face, right? So I'm gonna look here and let's just turn it sideways, right? I'm gonna jump out of my perspective view, grab my move brush, make sure my active symmetry is on. And let's just start from the very basics. We know that we're gonna need a little bit of a chin. We're gonna need a little bit of a flat face for the eyes, right? This is gonna be our forehead, just basic stuff. I'm gonna make my brush a little bit smaller and just pull this in. This is gonna be essentially where the neck comes from, right? So you can see I'm just creating like a basic skull kind of look, right? I'm gonna turn this way. And here, I probably want to make the monk to be just a little bit thicker. All of this is going to be a beard, so I don't need to sculpt any of that. But if I wanted to right away, I can take my inflate brush, hold down the Alt key, and just press in, the place where the eye sockets are going to be, right? We could do that. That's pretty easy. For the nose, let's just literally take the inflate brush and just inflate not a potato nose, but something super cartoony, right? Something like that is perfect. Very easy, not much going on, but you can already see the playfulness of the shapes, right? That's what I'm kind of going for. Very cool. You can see that it's getting a little bit pixely, right? Because we're stretching our Dynamesh. So I'm going to control and drag to re-Dynamesh. We could do a little bit of a polish. If you guys want to follow my tutorial, really any tutorial that I do on this channel, in setting up this UI through preferences, you can go to preferences and load up the UI. You can download this layout below this video, right? There's going to be a link and you can set it up, install it. It comes with all the brushes that I'm using, even external ones. And I do that just for the sake of ease of everyone who wants to follow, right? All right, cool. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my brush, make it a little bit larger, and here, let's just give him maybe a little bit of cheekbones, right? Just a little bit. I don't want to do too much. So I think this right here is pretty good. And I'm debating on whether I'm gonna see his mouth at all. I don't think so. I think we can give him a little bit of a lip. So do something like this. I'm gonna do control and drag to re-Dynamesh, and just very slowly I'm starting to kind of move in and create shapes that I like, right? I'm starting to feel like I really don't want these cheeks to be so big. I'm gonna kind of melt them down a little bit. All right, very nice. Let's see, what else can we do? Well, we definitely need ears. For ears, I'm just gonna insert a cylinder, right? And if I wanted to, I could do Control D a bunch of times until this is, you know, somewhat high res. And then I can turn it into Dynamesh 128 as well. And then it's going to ask me, would you like to freeze the subdivision levels? I'm going to say no. And I don't really need it to be, you know, I don't need to retain the subdivision levels because I'm changing it to Dynamesh, which essentially, for anyone who's new, think of Dynamesh as just like a wild west clay mode. That's what this is, right? We're just gonna slap clay on top. Okay, so next I am gonna grab my move and I'm just gonna squish it down and make it smaller, move it to the side. And this is gonna be a start of my ear for my monk. I'm gonna hold on the shift key and rotate this 90 degrees, right? And let's just keep it somewhat thick. It's gonna be a nice cartoony ear. I'm gonna rotate it and I'm gonna move it into position. So somewhere around here is good. At any point we could still adjust the size of it, but now since it's attached to the base shape, let's go ahead and merge them together, right? They're both 128 Dynamesh, and you can see that by clicking on each layer, right? We're maintaining that. So that means I can just merge it down, right? Put it on one layer, do Control and drag to kind of fuse these together, right? Again, think of it as just like clay. And I can, holding down the shift key, I can just kind of melt all of that, right? Melt it in. I'm only gonna do one ear because I can just flip this over. So that's fine, right? Before I flip it over, I definitely wanna add a little more detail here. Even though it's simple, we could still do something, right? So I'm gonna grab my inflate brush and I am in add mode. So I could switch it to sub, or I can stay on add and just press Alt key. And let's see, I can jump out of the symmetry. I don't really need to be symmetrical at this point. But holding down the Alt key, I can just press this in and just create almost like a little, you know, groove inside. And this is a perfect cartoony ear. Now you can see I'm definitely messing up the other side. So I'm gonna undo this. And let me undo this again. I don't want to mess this side up. So I'm gonna come down here onto my interface. I'm gonna check something called back face mask. And I don't need spotlight projection on. I'm not sure why it's on by default, but back face mask, if you turn that on and then hold on the Alt key and press this again, you should see this being held together much better. So it's one of the tricks in zBrush, right? That's an important button. All right, next I'm gonna do Control and drag to redynamesh, do a little polish, and now I have kind of this main hole, I guess, in my ear, and I would like to make it just a little more interesting than just one hole. So what I'm gonna do is make my brush a little bit smaller, still in the inflate, hold on the Alt key, and just really start pressing this way. And by pressing this way, now I'm creating almost like you could see like a wave. So you have a small opening, and then you have like this larger one, and then you have the ear rim, right? And that's gonna be perfect for like a little cartoony ear. We can also inflate this little thing that we all have like this. Do Control drag, and that is going to be great. We can also grab our move brush and just maybe pull this out just a little. And at this point in time, this is when, if you want to, you can shape your ear to whatever you want, right? You know, you can maybe add a little shape to it, so it's up to you if you want to do that or not. I'm almost very happy with the fact that this is somewhat round, and again, just super simple, right? I think this is great. Now I just need to flip it to the other side. To do that in ZBrush, you want to make sure that you mirror it on your left and then do mirror and weld, and that's going to put it on both sides, right? Very nice. Now let's see, we are ready for you know, let's add a beard to this guy, and definitely maybe add some nostrils. Now to add some nostrils, I could do inflate, but before I do that, I do want to maybe make my I'm going to press X with my move tool here, brush. I want to shape this nose just a little more, so it's, you know, it's not a perfect circle. You could see it has a little shape to it where the top is kind of round, and then this right here could be maybe just a little bit flat. Not too much. All of these are very subtle movements, but all of that adds up and makes it a little more interesting. I do want to make sure that this is somewhat round from the top, right? But you can see, like, it looks like this bottom of the nose is a little bit flatter. And the reason I did that is because now I can add some nostrils to this, right? And if we start doing more and more detail, maybe we could just pump up the resolution. We're kind of past the base mesh mode. So I'm gonna, let's do, I'm thinking 256 or 512. Let's just jump to 512, that's fine. And press enter. Right now we're at 56,000. If I do control and drag, you can see I just jumped to almost 900,000, right? If I do a little bit of a polish, now I just have a lot more resolution. And you can see that by pressing this polyframe button, and you can see how many points you have, right? That's a lot of points we can play with as we're sculpting. Really cool. Now, whenever you switch the resolution from low to high, a lot of times some of the detail that was low res will carry over, and you can see right there the ear is kind of wobbly and stuff. So holding down the shift key and melting it, you can see how different this looks, right? You do have to clean it up, and you can clean it up by holding down the shift key, or of course just doing like a global polish. But just double check, make sure you don't have any weirdness, right? All right, so I'm liking everything so far. Let's go ahead and go into inflate, and holding down the Alt key, I can push this in just a little bit, and now I have almost like two little nostrils. Again, super cartoony still. Maybe smooth this out, and let's check this out. I kind of like it. I think it's cool. All right, really nice. Next, I would love to add, so we have the eye sockets, but we are definitely missing the eyelids or eyeballs. And I'm thinking of this monk having his eyes closed because he's kind of focusing on, enlightenment, and he wants to really, achieve higher state of mind and higher energy. So he does need to close his eyes. I think that's going to be cool. Let's just insert a sphere. And I'm going to take the sphere and size it down to fit inside one of the sockets. So I'm going to keep it as a sphere, right? It's still round. All right, so I'm going to put it into position and make it just a little bit smaller. And now that is going to be great, right? Something like that is cool. Maybe just pull it out a little more. All right, so now we have kind of these, think of these as like two eyelids that are closed, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this sphere and also change it into the same resolution as my head, 512. That's great. I'm going to polish it, and now I'm going to take it and I'm going to merge it down with the other one. So now they are merged together, and now if I hold down the shift key, I can smooth this out, right? Again, let me make sure it's merged. And now if I smooth this together, you can see how it's kind of sealed, right? It looks like, okay, this is going to be his eye socket, and then the eyelid is connected to his base mesh or the head, and now everything is kind of like just welded together, right? Which is great. Now all we need to do is really just create a illusion of the eyelids being closed, and for that we can use something like Damien Standard, right? I'm gonna make sure I'm in sub mode, my Z intensity at 25, that should be fine. I'm gonna turn on my lazy mouse at 30. Let's do 30. And all we need to do, let's turn off our active symmetry by pressing X. But essentially all I need to do is just create a line that looks like his eyes are closed, right? So maybe something like this, or just make sure it's nice and round. And you can decide how deep you want the cut to be or what the shape of the eye is. But, again, so just so it looks like the eyes are closed, right? And I think that is pretty cool. I'm kind of happy with this. To flip this to the other side, again, I'm going to mirror it to the left first and then do mirror and weld, right? Just like we've been doing. We can turn on our perspective view and just look at the face so far from the perspective point of view. Now, if you wanted to control the angle of this, you can always go to draw, and by default it's going to be set to 50, the focal distance. I like to switch to 35, and you could see the difference. This is just, to me, I think 35 is a little more like the real world. Like if you look at the objects like on your desk or whatever in front of you, I think this is going to be a little bit closer to 35. And I like that. Okay, really cool. All right, so next, let's add some more things to him. And one of the things I would like to do is do a couple, you know, eyebrows, right? To do the eyebrows, I'm gonna press Control, go to my quick picks and just select my pen. And I'm just gonna literally just draw them on. And if I wanted to, I can press Control and turn lazy mouse on. And let's just create, you know, eyebrows that look something like this, like he's, you know, they're kind of pointing up, right? If you do something like this, that's going to be, usually you do that if the character is angry or mean. If you do something like this, that's usually means he's kind of neutral, right? And then, in my opinion, if you do something like this, that's more like he's blissing out, or kind of, you know, he's happy, right? He's kind of zoning out and he's not really concerned about anything. If I press Control Alt, I can actually do something like this, just clean this up. And I like this. I can always extract this and then shape it even further, right? So just get it to whatever you like. Maybe we can just straighten this front a little more, right? But that looks like a good eyebrow to me. So next I'm gonna go ahead and go to my subtool, and I just want to extract this. So I'm gonna go to Extract, and in here we can say, we can decide if we want to smooth this or not. I'm not really sure we need to. Let's just do like 50, and I'm gonna do Extract and see what the preview looks like. The thickness of this is pretty perfect at 0.02. I'm very happy with that. I'm just gonna say Accept. A new layer is created. I can do Control and drag, and I can see what that looks like, right? Very happy with this, don't have any problems. If I wanted to clean this up, I could always go to Geometry, jump into Z Remesher. Let's turn Adapt off. Let's dial this way down, like 0.5. And do not need active symmetry. And I guess I could say Detect Edges. And let's just do Z Remesh and see what that gives us. That should give us something really clean. If I turn on the polyframe, you can see what that looks like. Let's do half and do Z Remesh again. And really start dialing this down to the point where it just looks really clean. So that right there is pretty good. I'm gonna do Control D to make sure it doesn't look very facety. But now you can see how the whole shape just feels clean, right? I don't have any wobbly, you know, surfaces or anything like that. I'm gonna delete lower and just stay at this mode here. Before I copy this to the other side, I wouldn't mind shaping it just a little more. Grab my move brush here, and maybe I can just pull this in, make it again just a little bit flatter right here, and just a little more stylized. And maybe pull this down. If I wanted to, I can even change the shape of it, slide it, you know, on his head as I wish. And if I wanted to move it closer, make this really huge, and just take this whole thing and just press it in. Just, you know, make sure it's kind of touching his head, right? But it's not, you know, it's not floating somewhere. So let's say I like this. If it's super cartoony, by the way, you could just do something like this where it's like suspended in the air. A lot of times that's super funny. I'm trying to decide if I want his forehead to be a little bit larger. I'm trying to figure out if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing. I think not. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. If I wanted to make this larger, let me get rid of this mask for the eyebrow. I could just grab Inflate Brush, make this super large, make sure my symmetry is on. And I could just, let's just wait for 1 second. Let me hide this eyebrow. I could just maybe give him a little more, I don't know, what's the word, brain? Just maybe expand this a little more. Maybe make it a little more square so it's not so round. It's totally up to you. Right now I'm just totally experimenting and playing. You can also hold on the Alt key and maybe press this part in right here by the temple, just a little bit. And sometimes if you do that, that's going to give you a nice shape for the head. Obviously, you know, if you want to be more realistic, this part right here on our heads are like, you know, kind of indented in. So I'm pretty happy with this. Even at this point, I could still go to my move brush and adjust anything I want, right? I can change the size of the eyes. I can change the way the character feels. Maybe I want to make it, you know, I can raise the eyes or lower the eyes. So this is a really good time to decide, you know, what are you sculpting and what do you want your monk to look like. So I'm perfectly happy with maybe something like this, right? I like that. I'm gonna turn my eyebrow back on, and now you can see that I kind of lost it, right? I can't see it. So what I need to do is I can turn on my transparency mode and I can see where that is, right? So if I grab my move and change my pivot, I can jump out of transparency mode. Now I can just move this back into position, right? And now if I wanted to adjust this in any way, I think the best way to do is just grab my move and just literally just do whatever I want with it, right? Just make sure it kind of floats or it's positioned where it needs to be. So the reason I'm showing you all this is because it's really important to understand that at all times you have full control over your sculpt, and you don't have to, you know, just because you're doing one piece doesn't mean you can't still adjust stuff, right? And even if I wanted to add more thickness to this at this point, I can always inflate this a little and just make it a little more bubbly. I could always do that. So that's pretty cool. If I wanted to make this skinny, I can always go to pinch, and I could just pinch this a little more, you know, and then of course move it into position again. So I'm just totally having fun. Let's say I'm happy with this and everything looks good. If I wanted to flip this to the other side, let's see, I can just literally mirror it and then just do mirror and weld. Now I have two of them. Now you can really see how this is working together, right? If I turn on my active symmetry on, I can adjust them together at the same time and, you know, decide if that's something I like. I think it's cool. Let's see, I would love to give him some facial hair, just like I'm seeing right here. Like someone who is a little bit wiser, right? What would be, you know, I don't really want to do one hair at a time by just, you know, inserting these hair brushes. You can, if you want to spend, you know, a long time inserting each hair. That's to achieve these. That's how you would do that. Right here. I don't really want to do that. Let me just try to do something different. I'm going to insert a sphere, and let me see if I can turn this into same thing. I'm going to do 512 Dynamesh. Let's go ahead and Dynamesh that, and let's go ahead and polish it, make sure it's nice and smooth, right? And maybe do it again. Just make sure I don't see any kind of weirdness there. But now, how do I turn this into a beard, right? It's just literally just a sphere. Well, what I could do is I can go in the side view, take this, and maybe I can even do something like this, right? And what I could do is I can start kind of sculpting this. Well, I'm gonna put it below his lip here, and I kind of want the lip to stay visible. I think that's gonna be great. And now what I want to do is I want to take, let me grab my tablet at this point. I've been doing everything with the mouse. I'm going to grab my draw here, and let me grab my move brush, press X. And what I would like to do is, I'm not going to give him hair on top. Just like Rafiki here doesn't have hair, I don't think I need that either. But what I like to do is I want to move this up, right? And essentially, I'm trying to figure out how high. I think right to about, I don't know, somewhere here. Like maybe he has sideburns still. And I'm gonna push this in, start molding this into what I think is gonna make sense. Make this a little bit skinnier. And right away, just like, I don't know if you followed my Santa tutorial, but very similar, right? We're just gonna start creating something that looks a lot like a beard. Okay, and one thing I would like to do is I want to maintain kind of this round look. I think that's going to be cool. Right here we can start pointing this down a little more, right towards the end. But now you have this nice round look, which is going to be cool. I can take all of this, maybe do something like this, right? And very quickly, I think that looks a lot like cartoon hair. I can hold on the shift key, maybe smooth this out. Let's see. So obviously the other thing that we are going to need is he's going to need mustache, and he is going to need some kind of lines on here. Now, so this doesn't look so blobby. What I could do is I can take the trim dynamic, make it sort of large, and then change my intensity to be super low, like 5, and just kind of press some of this in and create more of a kind of an angular feel to this, right? So it's not so completely round, right? We can just do something like that, just create a little more shape to it. And I could do the same thing in the front here, just a little bit, right? Very little. And that right there is already feeling pretty good. All right, so that's looking good. Let's see, let's take this and maybe push this down a little more, just reveal those cheeks. And now the next thing I need to do is I want to create some kind of lines on this beard, right? Right now it looks like it's just a plain, you know, piece of clay, right? So let's go to Damien Standard, turn our active symmetry on, and let's just draw lines on here, right? So I'm just gonna go make sure my lazy radius is on. Maybe I can turn it up a little bit higher, like 96. And let's just do a few lines going from the bottom right here to, and you can decide how close you want to do it, you know, how much space do you want between your lines. But something along these lines is, get it, along these lines, that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna keep going to that same piece here. Here I'm gonna press X, maybe turn off my symmetry and just do one line at the bottom. If I want to do a straight line, I can click on it, hold on the shift key, make a green line, and then just release the shift, and that's going to give me a perfect straight line down the middle. So that's a cool little trick as well. And what I'm going to do is just let me turn my symmetry back on, and let's go ahead and keep going. All right, so that's looking good. Let's just keep adding a few more. Maybe one here. And if I wanted to, I'm trying to figure out how I want this to work. Maybe something along these lines. I'm going to stop right there. That's fine. And just add a few more. All right, I think that's cool. If you need more resolution, of course, you can dial this back up. I'm going to control and drag to Redynamesh. Hold on the shift key and smooth out some of this ugly transition that I have going on. And if I wanted to, you can even, if you see these lines kind of not really merging well into the space here, you can always take something like the pinch, and what you can do is you can pinch this, and by pinching it, it's going to create a better transition between the grooves and then going inside the shape, right? You can see what that looks like. It's a little more interesting than just leaving it thick, right? So all of that is going to be cool, and it's also kind of breaking up this surface here, which is cool, right? We can do all of that. Right here I can smooth this and maybe pinch this, and maybe pinch it a little more towards the center, right? So it's up to you, but something along these lines I think is pretty cool for like a cartoon beard effect, especially if you print this. I think that's gonna look really really cool. You can decide if you want to add some lines in the back. I'm not sure if anyone's gonna see it, but we could add just a few, just so it doesn't look completely boring back there, right? All right, so that's fine. All right, next, he definitely needs a mustache, right? Now, what would be a good way to do that? Just like the beard, I say we just insert let's just insert a sphere and use that as well, right? So I'm gonna put it into position, make it a little bit smaller, put it in front, and just give me something to play with. So I'm gonna do something like this. Maybe let's jump out of the perspective mode for a minute. Maybe angle this a little more, right? And let's just start building this into something that looks like half of the mustache, right? So a couple things I could do. I can go to this gear, I can go to taper, and I can taper this right here, right? I like that. Let's do accept. Let's also grab the move and just kind of pull this out. And you know what? I'm going to pull it kind of long, almost something like this. I would love to bend this. How do I bend it? I'm gonna go to my gear, go to bend curve, and this yellow one's gonna give us the resolution. 3 points is enough. I'm just gonna like bring this one down here and bring this one up. And that is gonna be sort of about what I was thinking of as far as like half of the mustache. I like this. Let's go ahead and say gear and let's do accept, right? And we can turn this into 512 Dynamesh as well. I'm gonna click Dynamesh and let's just see if we like this, right? Now, I don't like that it's so, you know, shapeless or blobby. I'm gonna grab my trim dynamic here. Again, my intensity is really low. I'm just gonna press, you know what, this is even too high. I'm gonna do like 1. And I can just like press this in a little. And you can see what I did. I just created more of a shape, right? Where the front is a little flatter. And something like that I think is pretty cool. Okay. You can decide how you want to, you know, how does it gonna go into the beard. You know, I don't know if I want that to be like that. Maybe it needs to be not as squishy. So maybe something like this. Now definitely let's add a couple lines before we copy it to the other side. Go to Damien Standard, same thing. Let's do Control and drag to Dynamesh, and let's just create some lines. Turn on lazy mouse. Let's just create a couple lines here. So maybe using Damien Standard, let's just create a couple lines that kind of match the beard, right? And now what I would like to do is I need to take these and just flip it to the other side. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna duplicate it and flip it over, and let me just see if I like it. I think I do, and I think this is pretty perfect to what I was thinking. The only thing that I'm not liking is how this lip is feeling. So I'm gonna press Alt, click on the lip, grab my move, and one thing I could do, let me go into perspective view for a second. I can just kind of lift this whole lip up, make sure my active symmetry is on, and essentially just figure out, you know, what type of emotion are we giving him, right? Maybe he's kind of like, you know, he's not pouting, but he's kind of like focusing, and you can of course decide what you like or what works. Once you figure out the lip situation, you're happy with it, just the size of it and everything. One thing that we could do is we can also grab something like the pinch brush, and we can pinch like the bottom of this to create a little more of a shape here. So that's one way of doing it. And just by doing this alone, you can see how it's just a little more interesting than just a blob, right? I'm gonna do make sure I'm not sure why my Dynamesh is off. Let's go ahead and make sure that's still on. Holding down the Shift key, I can maybe smooth the bottom of it, but now I have this nice sharp ridge that I'm kind of liking. And again, that's something that you could do or not. It's just totally your preference. You can also, of course, add more, you know, something like if you want to pinch maybe the cheeks a little more, you can add a little bit of a more like a toy kind of angular feel to it right there. It just adds a little more shape, right? Which is cool. We could do the same thing with the nose, make this a little bit smaller, and just pinch this right here towards the front a little. And now it almost looks like kind of the, you know, those Disney Infinity characters that look, it's more of a toy. And of course, I'm not liking what's happening to the bottom of the nose. So I really want to make sure this stays kind of flat, personally. So I can even maybe smooth this out. All right, just like that. I think that's cool. If I wanted to clean anything else up, right now this feels a little bit wobbly to me. I'm just showing you all the tricks that I know. So another thing I could do is use the trim, and again, it's super weak, right? Like 2, but I can literally just press this right here and start kind of flattening it. So a great way to get rid of anything that's wobbly. It's very gradually, right? You can just press this in, and essentially I'm just trying to figure out how to keep this nice and smooth. Now I messed up the the nostrils so I can move them around, make them a little more round, right? Maybe make them a little bit larger too, which I kind of like. All of this is cool. All right, so now my nose looks a lot more interesting. So that right there, I think, is what makes sense to me as far as the, as far as the monk's head, right? Let's press Alt on this, and one thing I could do is I can also grab my pinch, make it a little bit larger, and what I could do is I can pinch maybe the top here, so it kind of goes into his head, blends into his head a little more, right? All of those little touch-ups I think are really important. Even in the ear, right? Press Alt to select this mesh. If I pinch these ears, it's gonna look a little more crisp and a little more finished, right? So I can just go around, and my pinch is very weak, right? It's at 20, but I can just pinch this just a little and add a little bit of a sharpness, even to the top of the ear here, right? So again, I'm just trying to make something that looks a lot like almost like a toy, right? Let's see, so that is pretty cool. Let's do a little BPR. We can see what our monk looks like so far. Okay, so he's looking pretty cool, in my opinion. Another thing you could do is if you go to your materials, you can download something called Polyskin. There's going to be a link below this video as well. And a kind of a really cool way to see kind of a highlighted edges. And if I turn this down, you can see it just has a different feel. It's more like an actual clay, I think. And if you do a BPR, you can see what that looks like. If you wanted to change the shadows, maybe they're too strong, we can go to render, go to shadow, and just turn these down right here under BPR shadow. You can see that now it's a little bit lighter, right? So I'm kind of liking this. I think this feels nice, and it's simple enough where it doesn't really need much more, right? Let's go ahead and move on with the body. So make sure you save your tool, and let's just continue. So looking at Rafiki here, I would like to start building other pieces. So the next piece I think is going to be, well, the most complex piece is probably going to be the feet and the hands, right? So, the bodies I think is going to be somewhat easy. Let's just go ahead and build his hands next, right? And I kind of like this a lot, like the way I'm seeing this. So let's just block it out. And, at this point, there's really no reason why these should be all separate. It's up to you if you want to keep them separate or not. I don't really need them to be separate anymore. We can always split them later if we needed to. Let's go ahead and do a merge, and I'm going to do merge. I'm going to merge down to all of them, right? I'm going to jump out of Dynamesh too. Make sure I don't accidentally, fuse them together, because I do want to make sure that they stay. If I auto group it, you can see all these pieces are separate, right? So I don't want to infuse them together, just in case I need to split them or do whatever, right? But this feels pretty good. All right, so next let's go ahead and create a hand, right? So how do we do that? Well, I'm gonna let's just insert a box, and let's just block it out, right? I'm gonna hide the head, and with this, I'm going to do a couple things, right? First, I'm gonna duplicate this box, grab the original, and let's hide one of them, right? Grab the original, and let's just shape it into something that looks like a block out of a hand, right? So that right there is probably about perfect, okay? Let's go ahead and activate this, and let's start building our fingers, okay? So to build the fingers, I'm gonna grab my move, make it, let's just start scaling it, put it into position, and make it obviously smaller, right? That's gonna be our fingers, and we can adjust the hand as we need, but essentially, initially what we want to do, I'm going to jump out of the perspective view here, but initially what we want to do is we want to start creating, four fingers, right? And the thumb, okay? So let's just use these boxes for that. So to do this, I'm going to hold down Control, drag another one this way, and then release the control and just do it 2 more times, right? Now I have kind of the beginning of the 4 fingers. I can go up and select this here and just make it a little bit longer and make sure it kind of covers the fingers, right? Again, this is going to be the base of the palm, and we can actually get rid of this gap here. We don't want that gap. We want to merge these together like this. And one thing I'm going to tell you is that you do not need to worry about any of the connections between the shapes. Initially, all we need to do is just create the volume, and then we will, you know, re-Dynamesh it and just kind of turn it into a blob of clay. But before we do that, we just need to kind of create the volume, right, for our base shape. So this right here is going to be the beginning of our hand, which is great. Let's go back to our fingers, and let's do control and drag to get rid of the mask. And now the fingers obviously need to be, you know, a little bit longer, right? So instead of squares, these should be more like this. I'm gonna press control, drag another one, and just do something along these lines, okay? And that's gonna be great. And let's do it one more time. So something like this. So now we have a really basic, you know, something that looks a lot like a basic hand, right? Let's do control and drag to get rid of it. And we can decide if we are happy with it, which we should be. I think that's great. Now, if you look at the reference, you can see that we have 3 fingers kind of bending in, and then the index finger is touching the thumb, okay? So let's try to do the same thing here as well. I'm going to press control, and let me go to draw mode here. I'm gonna press control, and I'm gonna mask out this finger here. And I wanna take these 3, and I wanna curve them like this. Now, before I curve them, I do want to point out that obviously the pinky, this guy here, is usually a little bit smaller. So let's, while we're still here, let's go ahead and do that. Let's mask these out, grab our move, change our pivot, and we can unlock this and put the pivot right here in the bottom, lock this back up, and let's just simply scale this down just a little bit, right? And that's going to be our pinky right here. This is going to be our the finger right next to the pinky, and this is going to be the middle finger. Now, since this is the middle finger, this guy needs to be just a little bit longer, right? So let's do the same thing. Let's do control, and let's make a selection of him. And now to invert the selection, you can just do control and click, and that's going to invert it. Grab my move, reset my pivot, unlock this, put this into position, lock this back up, and let's just extend this a little more. And now normally if you look at your hand, it's something like this, where you got the pinkies a little bit smaller, usually a lot smaller actually. Then you have these 2 are about the same size, and this is the middle finger, right? Let's say I'm happy with this, that's fine. Now what I want to do is I want to bend these, right? So same thing, I'm just going to mask this out, come to the side view, and let's go to move. Let's click on settings, and let's do a bend curve. And now you have these 3 cones. I'm gonna increase the size of the cone to do, let's do 3 dots here, right? And now since we have these 3 dots, I can take this one and just start kind of bending it in and do something like this. That's gonna be pretty good. I'm gonna click on that and say accept. And now I have something like this, where I have these fingers kind of bending in, just like I see in the reference here. And now I need this one to really do like a sharp 90-degree turn. So this guy is going to be looking for the thumb, right? So let's do the same thing. I'm going to do control and click to reverse my mask. Go in the side view. Let's go into the settings, go back to the bend curve. And this time I want to take this guy and really bring him in a lot, right? To towards the thumb. And maybe I can even just do something really dramatic, right? He's in a whole different position than these 3, right? Don't worry about the connections here. You can move this around if you need to, but none of that really matters, right? Because we're gonna, again, turn it into a clay. But now I am ready for my thumb. So I'm gonna click on this little gear, say accept. And now I have something along these lines, which is great for a starting point for a base mesh, right? Now, to get the thumb going, I'm going to take the palm base shape. Let's duplicate it and let's use this box to create something that looks like the the thumb, right? So maybe make it, let's move this up so we could see it, make it into more of a box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of putting into position. So I'm going to put it right here at first, and obviously I need it to be on the edge, right? All right, and now if you think about the thumb, it's really just 2 links. Like this was made out of 3. This guy just needs 2. So I can make this a little bit longer, and I can angle this a little too, if I wanted to, right? Make it a little longer, a little larger. Like the thumb is going to be a little bit larger, right? Hey, so I released this portion of the exclusive member video as a sample to show you what type of content you can expect if you join my YouTube VIP membership for $4.99. These videos take a lot of effort, preparation, editing, and I would greatly appreciate your support. If you would like to see the rest of the video, please consider joining as a member. You can find the link below to the full step-by-step video where we finished the rest of the character, including some poly painting. The main benefits of joining: you will get access to exclusive videos that I'll just be making just for the members area. And this is a new section that I just started literally a month ago, right? So I haven't been doing this very long, even though the channel is 10 years old. I just now recently turned on the member section. You'll also be able to watch all the videos without ads. So no ads, if you are following it for a couple hours, that could get quite annoying. And you can also request any source file that you might want to follow my video. So that's a big one too. And then once in a while, I'll also give gifts, so like base meshes or special requests or anything like that. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your support, and I hope you join. And that right there is pretty much it, right? Now, the next thing you could do is take this, export it out, and render it in Blender. And of course, I have videos covering that as well. But this is, I think, as far as I should take it. If I click BPR, this is going to be the final result. I would love to see what you've made. If you want to share this in the Discord channel, that would be really cool to see. And thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you learned a ton, had a good time, and I'll see you guys in our next one.